Alright guys, so now we're going to be moving on to exporting, and I want to kick off this section right now by just talking about general exporting and overall how to actually move in some just very cool ways to actually go about exporting and just make your time when actually in the exporting stages much easier than it would be. So for example, right now I'm going to jump straight into this and I'm going to show you how to do it. So the general basics of how to actually render a section of a sequence is the in and out points that I've been telling you about. So right now we've got our in point set to the beginning and our out point set to the end, meaning that when we actually go to render this, it will encompass everything in between these two in and out points. Also, for example, if our clips were here, but our in and out point was here, if we actually go to export this, it's not going to render these clips over here because they're not within our in and our out points. And remember, to set those in and out points, you go to the place where you would want your sequence to begin and go ahead and press I, and then you go to the place where you would want your sequence to end and go ahead and press O, and that's going to seal that off so that it renders and actually just encompasses this entire area right here. And I'm actually just using the example that we edited in the previous section together in our mini exercise, and this right here obviously would be the selection that would be rendered. Now, let me just drag this over here, and also let me just go ahead and in and out the beginning here again, right? Just so we can have this a little bit neater over here to the side. But I quickly want to show you a way that I've actually already showed you a fair few times so far, but I need to explain a little bit more in depth, and that is the pre-render. So you guys can actually go up to sequence and go ahead and press render in to out, and that will actually pre-render your footage in and out. So if we go ahead and do that, it will actually just start to figure out what's there and create this yellow line here into a green line, meaning that has been rendered and that has been essentially processed through the computer. And the great thing why I love doing these pre-renders right here, these render in and outs, is because these actually count towards your final render. You see how we've rendered in and out here, turning this yellow line up here to green, meaning that when we actually go to render in our final stages and actually export this, okay, it will be quicker because we've already done a base layer of rendering and kind of started to figure out what is actually encompassed in this in and this out section. So it's extremely important to actually go ahead and be keeping it kind of in your brain to be rendering those in and outs. And you can actually go a step further, and if we had effects on here, which we haven't actually fully gotten to yet, but we could also render effects in and out as well, okay? And both of these right here are things that I actually get into the kind of the hang of doing throughout my project, where I'm constantly doing a little bit of a render in and a render out, and if I've got heavy effects in there, I'm definitely going to be wanting to render those effects in to out. But again, I'm going to be getting to that a little bit later, just because when I actually go to my final exporting process, this is going to be loads easier and it's going to make that export so much quicker. Now, in terms of my general export settings, if you guys actually go up here to File and then Export Media, you will be greeted with the export settings. Or alternatively, you could quit off of that and press Control and then M. And I mean, hold Control and press M, and boom, you're going to get the exact same stuff, the export settings. On the left-hand side, it's going to show you a preview of what your output will obviously be looking like. And then here, you have all of your settings. Now, for me, my general export settings, I put the format on H.264. That is standard MP4 format, and I always get the preset to match source high bit rate. That is going to be rendering here in the highest bit rate possible, and then of course I would proceed to put my output name right here and obviously designate where it is going to save to. So we'll just type save or export save. I don't know, it's just a random name, but that's just to show you how you could actually save the name there. And then you can actually just go ahead and leave the match source on, because that's actually going to just specify everything to be that of your particular image, and then you can actually go ahead and just press export, and that would be my 100% general export settings. And overall, there's not even much tweaking you need to do, just really the key thing that you need to know. I'm going to cancel that because we obviously don't need to go through fully with the render. And the key thing that you actually have to be on is make sure that you have sequence in and out. Okay, so that's that source range, and that is set to sequence in and out by default. So that's why I always tell you to add the in and out points, because it's actually more work to go up here to entire sequence, because sequence in/out is the default that it's always set to, okay? And also, you just want to make sure you've got MP4 format going on right there. And that right there, guys, is my general export settings.